When you say reprogram, what are you talking about? Like I'm a cyborg? When we met, I was like the perfect guy, and I was ready for the world.
No, so you just call my work a hobby?
I think
Or a passion project? Like it couldn't have been a career?
Did it turn into a career?
Add each other's throats.
Have you ever felt like your partner is just out of sync?
Like you weren't even speaking the same language.
We have been there and done that, and what we have found has made us stronger.
It's helped us to align our dreams and make our business a success.
So, welcome to the channel. This is something brand new. We are excited to bring everybody more ideas about how to streamline and reprogram your partner for business success.
So I'm excited to talk about how I reprogrammed you and how you reprogrammed me, and really getting an understanding for how we can create a successful business where both of our dreams and both of our visions are aligned.
Wait a second, wait. All right, before we even get started with this, when you say reprogram, what are you talking about? Like I'm a cyborg or something like that?
Well, to a degree you are. To a degree, I've had to give you more of me and less of you.
Okay, so I would have thought that when we met, I was like the perfect guy, and I was ready for the world.
No.
No,
Not in
explain this to me.
Okay, so I think for me, I actually helped to provide more of the softness in the business, more of connection with your clients, and not looking at them as like a number or a dollar value.
So, all right. So before we even go down this rabbit hole, I want to give everybody just an understanding of what one of the businesses that we do that I think she's talking about. We have an early learning facility that we've been doing for many years, and we've got a great group of staff that I feel as though are just invaluable. I mean, these teachers are able to do things that I would have just never imagined. So I'm just very thankful that our business is and has been very successful. But what you are saying is that I value things differently, meaning like I look at people as numbers. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. I feel like our people need a human connection, more about what's going on in their lives, what's going on in our lives, whereas you don't want that. You keep that at a distance. You just look at the bottom line.
All right. Well, I think first you actually need somebody to look at the bottom line. I mean, that's how you're going to be able to scale business. But when we talk about reprogramming, I would have thought that you would have said something more on the lines of, my husband has helped to reprogram me. Because when we met, you certainly weren't. I don't think you were really business minded. I mean, you worked corporate America. You've had some really good experience there, but I don't think you were really ready for entrepreneurship until I kind of led the charge in this direction.
I don't know if I can agree with that. I think I had some business acumen about me, but you and I approached business totally different, right? You approach it from a scientific idea, whereas I approach it from more of an arts and touch point type approach, right? We have two different approaches, but I will say you did help to reprogram me in regards to understanding what the bottom line means and how, to a degree, how it can impact future business or current business. But I do feel like, should we say reprogramming, or should we say maybe opened it up to something else? Like, is there maybe a different word?
I think with every couple, you have to realize that there are modes of training. You're balancing husband, wife, you're balancing children, you're balancing outside influences, friends, family, and then finally, you're trying to balance a business at the same time. I mean, all of this is working at the same time. And how does that actually work without sitting down with your partner. It doesn't necessarily have to be a spouse. I mean, it could be your best friend or just a coworker that you think is just a great person that would do and help complement you in business. But I do think that there is some programming that has to happen. I mean, we have to be able to see each other on a page that's probably never been discussed before. It's never been seen before, right? So I may have had a vision to dominate in early education, whereas you may have seen, well, let's just, do the humanitarian thing and let's just open up, our doors to care for children. Whereas me, I want to take over the world, right? So there's some programming that has to happen because I feel as though that I had to have been a bit more aggressive during our early stages. Aggressive meaning enrollment, the type of teachers that we were going to hire, how we were going to be represented in a community. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, I also think, yes, you are correct. We had to get on a page with one another that you probably don't talk about when you're courting that person, right? You don't talk about how you're going to build your brand, how you're going to leverage one another for success. So I totally agree with that. There is a bit of exposure and approaches that are totally different for both of us, right? Maybe because you're a male and I'm a female, or maybe because you're a science degree and mathematics and I'm an arts person. But I do think that there's strengths on both sides. But what I do feel is more important is challenging your weaknesses and building on those, right? Keeping your strengths where they're at, sharing your strengths, but also challenging your weakness as well as my weakness.
All right, so what would you say would be some of your weaknesses?
I'm a sucker for a sad story. I'm a sucker for a sad story. Not that I'm giving away the bank, but I want to help. You mentioned I'm a humanitarian. I want the world to be okay. I want the people that I'm doing business with to be okay. So what does that mean for you? That means for you that I may give away services. Just a raw example, right? I may say, oh, don't pay for it this week, or not that I have, but
and I don't think there's anything wrong with giving away services.
But what's the caveat to that?
Long-term client, right?
Yeah.
Maybe giving away free services initially as a trial period is okay. I mean, we see this all the time in gyms, right? Gym launches do this all of the time. They give away free services with the hopes to capture the client long-term.
And I'll say I'm a sucker for a sad story, especially when it comes to the employees that we have, right? I want them to be well mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally. I want them to be well. So I may take the hit in terms of filling in so that they can have a break. And we see that totally different. We see that totally different in regards to what's a sad story. Right? Like, what's a sad story for you?
Oh, a sad story for me is lack thereof. I come from a background of not having much, very humble backgrounds. And so when I start to see a trajectory heading in that direction, I get a little worried. I get a little fearful. So I really try to ensure that, that history doesn't repeat itself. I try to ensure that, the family is secure. I try to ensure that the business is secure, the community is secure. So that would probably be one of my weaknesses for sure, in terms of just having to relive my past. And maybe that's just a part of PTSD. I think that's real important in terms of your mental health. But how do you escape the past? How do you truly escape the past when you know and you can feel just something's just not right and something's actually familiar, right? So you begin to just question yourself and question your ability to do good in the community, to do good in your entrepreneurial endeavors.
So let me ask you this, because I want to get back to how you reprogrammed me. I want to get back to that question. I touched on a little bit of how I reprogrammed you, but let me understand how you reprogrammed me.
I think reprogramming, in a sense, comes from just the challenge, the challenging nature, right? When you decide to go back to school for just general studies, right? Like, we just knew that just going back to school during COVID was just important, right? We didn't really have an idea of where it was going to end up, but it was just important. And I decided to do the same thing. And I know I felt a sense of a challenge in terms of, man, if my wife can do all of this, and we're in probably the worst economic crisis possible, right? During our lifetime, why can't I do it as well? So as we are challenging each other, talking about our courses in school, and about, staying up late and going to school and taking courses and dealing with professors, I think that there was some reprogramming going on there, right? I'm going to challenge you to do better. When we talked about, I don't know if I could take another course, or I don't know if I'm going to go for, my master's or my PhD. I think that we both complimented each other and said, something, how far can we actually take this? What's on the other side of this education? If we can get all this education under our belt, what can we do with this?
Well, then let me ask you this, because I feel like, for me, the biggest challenge that you have is that, let me not say the challenge, I'll say the one weakness I see with how we operate business is that we actually have to remain on the same wavelength, right? The same page. And it's easy to fluctuate, right? It's easy for me to say, nope, I want to focus in on this particular facet of the business. And you may say, well, the finances don't support that, right? Or our direction doesn't support that. And so give me some ideas on, or even a story on, when that has happened and how did we pivot to come back to this?
I think that's actually a good question. Where do we not necessarily see eye to eye, and then how do we come back to pivot? I think we probably see that in marketing, right? when we have maybe a low clientele, and I'm the first to say, let me reach back into my books, into marketing and advertising, and start marketing the crap out of this program. And you may say, hey, hold on, we necessarily don't have all of the employees that we may need to fulfill all of this new clientele. Right? We do that often. We do that a lot. Whereas I'm trying to bring in the numbers, I'm trying to tell a story through the finances, and you're more like, hey, listen, our staff just can't support what you're trying to do. Then how do we pivot? How do we pivot from that? Would you say that's a fair assessment?
I definitely would say that's a fair assessment. I would also say, when there's projects that I want to pursue that kind of take me off of our path. When I was doing, more coaching and developing for outside organizations, that kind of drew me away from the actual path. Definitely made us a boatload of money, but it was something that.
But that's instant gratification, though. That's instant gratification.
Is that my weakness?
I think every true hardcore entrepreneur knows that you need to focus on one thing. You need to excel in one thing until you're able to create a succession plan, and then to teach that and pass it on. Now you're able to kind of filter out and do some things that may be of passion to you, or you may want to work on your hobby a little bit more to start making more money.
So did you just call my work a hobby?
I think
or a passion project. Like it couldn't have been a career.
Did it turn into a career?
It could have.
Did it turn into a career?
Possibly.
It did. I don't think it turned into a career, but it was fun nonetheless, right? It was fun. You had a really good time, and we got refocused. No, all jokes aside, I think that we should have additional passions, right? And there's nothing wrong with having several income streams. I would probably say both you and I combined, we have at least maybe like 10 income streams
Right.
throughout any given time. And some are more hobby, and we're lucky in a sense that these hobbies actually pay us. I mean, I think we have a really good time. Some are passive, like the stock market, or ETFs or mutual funds, things of that nature, which we've talked about in the channel before. And that's more passive investing. But I do think, some of the hobbies that we've had may have actually sidetracked us a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
I can say that, going off into real estate, for instance, building a team there has definitely distracted me in a way that has taken me away from writing grants, right? Or writing proposals for grants. I just wasn't as effective, and I wasn't doing as many when I was focused on real estate. And I think that was a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we pivot from that and get back on track, right?
Mm.
So what would be one of your examples for me?
Definitely the real estate. And also I think that sometimes you just get burned out, and you lack maybe even the fortitude to want to be in alignment with one another. I mean, let's keep it real. There's days that, maybe we don't want to work together. Maybe there's days that you're just not feeling it, right? You may be overwhelmed, and it's easy to not necessarily move in that same direction.
Can I add one thing? For anybody who's watching this, if you are a couple doing business together, it can be, will be, is difficult, right? Because when you have a relationship doesn't necessarily equal just love and bliss every single day.
Mm-hmm.
The relationship means that you're going to go through ups and downs, ebbs and flows. It's about how do you rebound? How strong is the relationship? How strong is the foundation to endure some of those issues, whether long or short term? So doing business together is a challenge. And I think we've been blessed to have been able to do this for over 20 years now, up and down, having our issues. I mean, if you could think of it, we could probably name it.
Yeah.
But we have stayed the course. We have stayed faithful
And married.
And we have, and I wouldn't even say that we've seen the light, because I think we're still fairly young, and we're just now really understanding more about our business.
Yes, and I mean, to keep, to be really realistic with you, when we got into this, that was a big concern for me. We live together, we eat together, we sleep together, we're going to work together. How much more together can we be? And will I feel suffocated or smothered because we're together all of the time? And I will say that, as an independent person, that was a concern for me. But as we got through year 1 and year 2 and year 3, it actually developed our friendship even more. Not necessarily as husband and wife, but as friends. And I learned to gain a greater respect for you with regards to your business acumen. And I will say, like, it was not easy. There's days where I thought, like, you're the biggest jerk. I'm sure there's days that you thought I was the biggest jerk too. From 9 to 5, you're not my husband. You're my business partner. And separating those two relationships can be challenging.
Mm-hmm.
When I wanted to go one direction and you went another direction at work, does it go home with us? Yeah, it does. Like, we can be honest, it does come home with us.
Yeah. I think some people make it work. And for those that are watching, if representing husband and wife at the business works for you, I would definitely like to know more about it. A lot of times when we have new clients or even staff that may start, they may not realize that we're married for weeks. They're super surprised when they, hold on, what's your last name? What's her last name? Are you two related? And then we tell them that we're husband and wife. And I think that's the shock value that I actually like to see that, because I want them to see the professionalism before they see this this union of marriage, and oh, they're just doing this just because they're married. No, I want people to feel the professionalism and the quality of service that they're actually receiving.
Yes, I have. I've been asked if you were my brother.
What?
Exactly. Exactly. So we keep those lines very visible in regards to our professionalism in the workplace.
So I think it is fair to say that we have reprogrammed each other, because we could simply go to work as husband and wife,
Sure.
but we go to work as business partners. It has taken us over approximately 20 years to literally reprogram ourselves to leave the marriage at home and any issues that follow with that, right?
Oh,
Whether
yeah.
good or bad.
Yeah.
I mean, we could be ecstatic about getting ready to go on a vacation, but now we're at work. Let's leave the ecstatic in the car and we'll
Right.
pick up after we get off work.
Or we could be at each other's throats.
Is that too much?
Way too much.
All right. Yeah.
But we still are able to perform business. We're still able to execute on the things that mean the most.
Absolutely. So I hope that everyone appreciates this type of content. This episode is epic because the conversations that we are going to have weekly are going to be, I'm going to use the word again, epic. And I'm super excited about the partnership that we're forming to give everybody so much great. We are going to condense literally like 20 years worth of just business acumen down to just YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
So again, super excited. What you got? What you got?
I would just say I'm excited for this particular phase of our business journey, and I'm excited for people to see really the down and dirty on how it really goes down for couples.
Yeah.
Not just what YouTube wants you to see. We want to be real candid about the struggles, the successes of working together as husband and wife and as business partners.
Yep. So you'll notice that we never ask for a like or a subscribe. We're not asking for that. But if you feel as though that you want to do that, please do subscribe, like. Leave us some comments below, because like I said, I really want to know who has these type of challenges. So again, every single week, we'll see you guys later, and let's go ahead and end this. Turn this off. Are you gonna be cooking, or
Excuse me?
cooking anything to eat?
We just got home.
I know, but super hungry.
Huh?
Super hungry.
Really?
Yeah.